But first, the combination of reduced home prices and the lowest interest rates in history have created a tremendous buyer's market. In particular, first-time home buyers are seizing one of the greatest opportunities in history. But before making an investment in a home, it might be a good idea to invest in a home inspection. Joining me on Money Matters is Kathleen Kuhn. She is president and CEO of HouseMaster, a home inspection service with nearly 400 franchise operations all across the country, including some, we should say, here in San Diego, right?
That's right, George.
Kathleen, thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here.
I'm going to ask you a question that may sound simple to some people, but I think for a lot of home buyers or potential home buyers might be a bit confusing. What's the difference between a home inspection and a home appraisal?
Well, that's a great question. A home appraisal really focuses on the price of the house, where a home inspection focuses on the condition of the house. And a home appraisal really is always contingent on a home inspection. So if the house is valued at $250,000, but a home inspection comes in and finds $30,000 worth of structural damage, that home really isn't worth $250,000.
And a home inspection is literally from top to bottom, right?
It is. It's all the major elements of the home, the cooling system, plumbing, electrical, structure, roof, all the big ticket items, and it's a focus on the major elements.
Now, in California, inspectors are not licensed by the state, correct?
They're not. In 33 states there is some licensing, but in California a consumer really has to do their do their inspection of the inspector before they hire them.
And what would that entail? How would you do that?
Well, you have to ask the right questions. I mean, first of all, when you're talking to a home inspection company, ask what kind of training they have, what kind of annual testing they have. You want to make sure there's somebody that's getting checked up on time and time again. Also, ask if they carry errors and omissions insurance. That's kind of like malpractice insurance for a home inspector.
And how much would an inspection cost? Can you give me kind of a ballpark range?
Sure. On the average, it's about $400 to $600, depending on the size of the home and the age of the home generally.
And that report is really critical, and its accuracy is important in really coming up with a fair value for the home.
It's true. You're going to get the appraisal, but you want to know, are there any major conditions that you haven't budgeted for, you haven't taken into consideration when you're factoring in all things when buying a home. We do encourage you to go along on the home inspection because you'll learn a lot about the house. Not only, home inspection is really not just a laundry list of what's wrong with the house, it's really an education on the home you may be buying.
And it probably is the home buyer's responsibility to pay for the inspection?
Generally the home buyer. Generally the home buyer. More and more home sellers are getting a home inspection so they can take care of any issues before a buyer comes along, but generally it is the home buyer.
All right, Kathleen, let's talk about some things that are right in the headlines these days. We know that home sales are up, but we also know that a lot of the sales are either foreclosures, bank-owned properties, short sales, and stuff like that. Sometimes properties that have really been beat up, bruised, and battered. So talk about the role the inspector plays in that scenario.
Well, that's a good point. With our HouseMaster offices here, about 60% of our business right now is foreclosure inspections. And at first glance, these houses look like they're big problems. What we're going to do is say, okay, listen, you're going to have to replace the kitchen. We're going to look at to see if you're going to have to replace any major structural issues, whether you're going to have to replace the roof, whether there are major plumbing problems, or it's really just a matter of cosmetics.
It must be, I don't know if the word's fascinating or interesting, to go into some of these homes and see the damage that's been done.
It is. It's vandalism, it's theft. I mean, some of it intentional, some of it just is a lack of maintenance. I mean, if you can't pay your mortgage, you're not putting a lot of money into maintaining your home.
Yeah. So, again, doing this process at the beginning of the home buying situation, when you've identified a home you want to buy, that's the time you get the inspector in there, right?
Well, that's a good point. One of the things that HouseMaster recommends is that if you're buying a real estate owned property, get the inspection done before you put an offer in. This way, your offer is based on the condition of the home, because banks, even though they want to get rid of the property, they're not really very good at negotiating.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, you must pick up a lot of different trends in real estate because of the work that you and your franchise operators do out there. What other kinds of things are you seeing going on in real estate right now that are maybe kind of interesting, a little bit out of the norm?
I think the biggest thing is that people are tending to have the inspection done even before they put in an offer. That is unusual. Usually a home inspection was done once there was a signed agreement and it was contingent on, the deal was contingent on the home inspection. But more and more people, because there's a lot to choose from, are saying, you know what, I'm going to spend a few $100s, find out what the condition is, and then if I want to move forward with an offer, I will. So that is definitely a new trend.
And I think it's pretty obvious that the amount of work you're doing through your operations is probably directly linked to what's going on in the housing market in general, right?
It is. And the good news for us is that, for a long time to come, buyers will be very cautious about when they're buying their home. So they're more likely to look for a good home inspection company and get a home inspection.
Do you see the real estate market getting more active now?
We do. Certainly in California, or the market here in San Diego, home sales are definitely brisk, and a lot of it's the foreclosure markets, a lot of it first-time home buyers, but in other parts of the states as well. So we are optimistic.
It's a very interesting time in the whole scenario of housing, and that brings every part into it, including the home inspection. And again, your operations are coast to coast and here in San Diego, and information available on the internet, right?
Absolutely. HouseMaster.com.
It's a great, interesting company, and I'm glad you had a chance to visit us with us while you're here in San Diego.
Thank you, George.
Kathleen, thanks so much. Coming up next on Money Matters, I'll tell you about